Welcome to the 10-Minute Life Lesson Podcast. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne. I train people for improved personal and professional development, offering my assistance to those ready to develop their goals into tangible, focused, and achievable plans of action. And this podcast is one of the tools I use to accomplish my mission. Generally, when the timer hits 9 minutes and 59 seconds on this recording, you'll have a fully developed life lesson that you can take with you and begin to implement immediately. And if this week's lesson has a ring of familiar, then it's probably a reinforcement of a life change you've already started to implement. This podcast falls under the umbrella of my greater personal development efforts, all under the Your Better You brand. For more information on accountability coaching or to gain access to tools, tricks, and life hacks, visit yourbetteryou.info. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Now, here is this week's life lesson. Let me start off with a question that I despise when it's posed to me, but I think you'll get where I'm going with this. Why do you think you can do the thing you're telling me you want to do? Think about that question for a moment. Just think about the question. Why do you think you can do it? Ponder in your mind, run it through, and see where you come with when that question I just asked of you. What answer comes to mind? What feelings come to mind? What everything is there in that wrapped up question. Why do I hate that so much? Because, number one, I'm a person who pretty much, when I set my mind to doing something, find a way to make it happen. That's what I do. Number two, the questioning itself usually comes from a person who has never tried to do anything out of the ordinary, never tried to step out of their comfort zone and do something, and essentially are using a question which could be a relevant question, asking why do you think you could get it through, but they're asking it of you as if you should not have the ability, the capacity to think about it, or even any chance of making it work. And why should you even be thinking that way? Because no one around here thinks that way. No one thinks outside the box. They all want a nice, simple solution that everyone can use over and over again without any hassle, without any stress, without any trouble. Something I do very often on a very basic level for anyone taking any sort of personal development step, whether they're stepping into some group program or I'm just doing a speech someplace where people are in a program where they're trying to empower themselves and do a little better, is to thank them. Thank them for taking a step. It might not be their first step, it might be their 20th, 50th, 100th step, because they may have tried it 20, 50, 100 times before. But in this case, they've taken a step forward, and hopefully we'll learn something from the experience, and even more hopefully, we'll actually get to where they want to go. They come up with the idea that they can do some magical thing, and then they try to make it happen. Sometimes it comes close, sometimes it comes nowhere near, but you learn, you grow, you regroup, you try again. It's a crazy thing being a thought person. It's a crazy thing having ideas and wanting to see how they come out, whether it's for profit or just for pleasure. But it takes a person with a mindset to do seemingly crazy things to make seemingly crazy things happen. And sometimes it takes a seemingly crazy thing to happen for people to realize just how important that crazy thing could be. So for all the people out there who are out there doing seemingly crazy things, who are being asked questions by people who really don't have the nerve to step out on their own and do things on their own, I say, thank you for trying. Thank you for being here for this podcast. Thank you for being here on this planet to do great things. Or maybe they're not so great things. Maybe you just had one small curiosity and you just want to see it through and go back to having a sort of blandish life. That is no problem. That is your choice. You can do whatever you want to do with what you have. But here's the thing about that. You will not be the same person who will question someone about their chances of making that crazy thing happen and do it in a sense of asking them, why do you think you're crazy? You're probably actually asking them, why do they think they can make it happen? You may actually care. I'm going to make that big assumption. But if you're a person doing things that are kind of crazy, chances are when you ask other people doing crazy things, you have a curiosity about that. Maybe that crazy thing can actually help you out in the process, so you want to know more. Maybe you know exactly how it feels, and I'm pretty sure you do, when people are questioning you and knowing that they don't think you can do it. They're trying to tell you that without actually saying, I don't think you can do that. They just ask you a bunch of questions that sort of make you doubt your own ability. If you're a person who's on the other end of that, who's had their abilities doubted, which I know is not grammatically correct, but have been in a sense of doubt because people have questioned their intentions, questions their thought process, questioned their work ethic, questioned themselves as people, because whatever they're thinking about is seemingly crazy. Mostly because it's different. And usually not much different, just different from, as we said, the status quo. If this is not how we do things around here, and you want to do something a different way, why? Why would you not want to do things the way we do things around here? The way the people we are do, the way we are. The biggest problem with doing crazy things, odd things, new things, is that it changes the status quo of the norm because someone in the middle is doing something out of the norm. Someone's doing something that makes them have to stretch their mindset, stretch their abilities, go outside the box, and not just rubber stamp a response to whatever is facing them in the moment. Now, let me make it perfectly clear that having a nice, easy, calm, bland existence is your prerogative. It's no big deal to me. In fact, I try my best to live things in a nice, even keel manner. I try to do too many things that are way out of character and way crazy because I like things on an even keel. I don't like to have to be combative with people. I don't have to be all sort of up in arms with things. I don't like to be generally disappointed in many cases, so I don't put myself in places where I expect grand results because they can be easily phased out and be easily disappointed. But I put out a weekly podcast talking about personal development. But actually 3 weekly podcasts on personal development and a bunch of others on other things. I put myself out there, my voice, my face in some cases in the videos, my writing, so my voice there as well. I publish something at least every single day, literally every single day of the year, if not 2 or 3 things where I put myself up to be vulnerable, for people to ridicule, for people to troll on and people to throw things at and just be evil, greedy, mean people. I do that every single day. So I have a heart for people who do the same thing. Maybe they don't have the talent level that I do. Maybe they have more talent than I do. I'm not going to hate on anybody who's putting the work out, regardless of how good they are, how much they do at it, and how well they're making from it, and if they're making great from it or not so great. More often than not, the common trait from those who ask me why I am doing my seemingly crazy things are people who rarely take chances on doing seemingly crazy things themselves. That means they don't know why I'm doing it. They don't understand the internal fire of a person who must create something, who must do something, who must change something, who must challenge something, who must be in the arena. Those that do their own crazy things know why I'm doing it. And what I'm doing probably makes more sense than not. They may actually want to know what's going on, how it's going, and often how they can help. So think about that on questioning. If you are questioning others, is it because of your fear of them succeeding, or is it actually because you really want to know how well they're doing? It's a serious question and takes some contemplation. People question the people who question that are sitting on the bench for what they really know what's going on because they're not actively in the game at the moment. But the people that should really be questioned are the people in the stands and some of the analysts who've never played the game. They've only watched it at some point and just learned the intricacies from there. If you're out there making things happen and people are asking you questions to why, gauge why they want to know the answer. If they're haters, disregard. If they're compatriots, answer their questions, take in their feedback, and question them themselves and see if they can do the same to quantify how well they're doing. once again, thank you so much for joining us for the podcast. This doesn't work without you guys and the questioning that you do on why I'm doing certain topics, why I do things a certain way, why the format is what it is. I appreciate every single piece of feedback that comes my way, even the ones that are a little biting, to be honest. But that's how this thing works. That's how personal development actually works. If no one notices you're getting better, then what's the point? You should stay where you are and just live your life without any extra stresses whatsoever. Although the stresses of not being as good as you can be is an issue on its own. So let me help you be better at what you're doing. Here's a few ways. Number one, you're listening to this podcast, so subscribe to it so you make sure you don't miss out on it. This, of course, is the 10-Minute Life Lesson Podcast. You can also subscribe to our Quicker podcast, which gives you a great message in even less time, 90 seconds. That is Steps to Your Better You. You can stop by the website, yourbetteryou.info, for all the great things, including articles as well as other free things to keep up to, and links to how you can get involved with me for coaching to help you get a little bit better with a little bit more guidance. It could be simple accountability coaching, or it could be full-blown going through your projects and seeing how they work on their own, or work well or not so well on their own, sometimes like my mouth does. If you want to email what's going on here and talk to me via this route, it's very simple. yourbetteryouinfo@gmail.com. You can email me directly at jclevelandpayne@gmail.com as well. And my main website for all my projects, which we're working to clean up and get a few more extra projects there, is jclevelandpayne.net. Once again, thank you so much for joining us for this podcast, getting the quick 10-minute lesson, and hopefully you're ready to think about that question as to why you're questioning others. Maybe it's for pure reasons. Maybe it's not so pure. It's up to you to come to that conclusion, and hopefully make sure it's pure from this point on. And feel free to question me. I have no problem with that. If it's a good question, I'll answer. If it's a bad question, I'll deal with it accordingly. In the meantime, make sure you're here next week for another great episode, another great image episode with a 10-minute life lesson that literally in 10 minutes, when the clock hits 10 on your on your player, you will have a actual item to work with, just like today. From the 10-Minute Life Lesson Podcast, from yourbetteryou.info.